Hey everybody, Bruce here, traveling with Bruce. How you doing today? Today's video is called Why 2021 Could Be a Disaster for the Cruise Lines. I got nothing against the cruise lines. I can't wait to go cruising myself, but we've got to talk about the elephants in the room. There are 10 elephants in the room we have to talk about. Thank you, all of you out there who are following my channel, Traveling with Bruce, and all my cruise updates. Thanks for subscribing. Thank you for making donations to my PayPal account. We are not being paid for the ads that you are watching on this channel due to a glitch at YouTube since September. We have not been paid. Thank you, anyone who's making a $10 or more US donation. You get one of these babies, a custom-made postcard from TWB out of Creston, British Columbia, Canada. And if you're a sponsor member of my channel, you automatically get a postcard from yours truly, and you get 2 live shows every week, Mondays and Fridays. Fridays we play trivia. We have a lot of fun. Consider joining today. Let's talk about what is happening out here. Why could 2021 be a disaster for the cruise lines? We're dying to go. We can't wait to get on a cruise. Hasn't it been long enough? The suffering has got to end here. I thought there was a vaccine. I thought there were better days ahead, and there could well be. But I thought what I would do today is caution you out there about the 10 things that might foul it up. And so here are the top 10 reasons why 2021 could be a disaster for the cruise lines. The number one reason, this is in no particular order, the COVID case counts. The actual COVID case counts could be so bad this winter that they will blow projections out of the water. We were told that all summer long, that in the fall and the winter, during cold and flu season, we would see these numbers rise, and they have been spot on. The numbers have risen dramatically, scary in some places. There are now even partial lockdowns being imposed in various communities across North America, and certainly in countries and districts in Europe. The reality is, though, that we may have a scenario between now and next March where millions more people are going to catch the virus than previously thought. Thousands more will perish, and many, many will have side effects for years to come. So this is something that could foul things up because it could just delay everything from starting. The vaccines, we've been told the vaccines are our salvation, and I hope they're right. I'm praying this is going to work for us. But there is one thing we don't know yet, and that is, what will the side effects be once the viruses, or the vaccines I should say, once the vaccines are administered to millions of people? What are the side effects, and are some of them serious side effects? This is another issue. If countries do not have confidence in the validity and the potential of the vaccine to eradicate the virus, we may have travel restrictions going a lot longer. Number 3, countries might not be able to work together seamlessly as we'd like them to allow travel to begin from aircraft and from cruising. It could well be that land borders remain closed like they are right now between Canada and the U.S. or Mexico and the U.S. It could mean that millions of potential cruisers out there just can't get to their cruise ships because they're not allowed either out of the country that they're living in or into the country they need to get to catch a ship. Whether it's Americans going to Europe or Europeans coming to the U.S., Canadians going wherever they want to go, and on it is. If these countries cannot get their acts together and work out a systematic and consistent health protocol where vaccine number 1 and vaccine number 2 and vaccine number 3 are all accepted, the rules are clear, we may not have the cruise lines be able to start cruising on a consistent basis like they need to. These cruise lines are desperate for CDC approval to be able to start sailing out of the U.S. waters. But if this is delayed until March, April, May, or June of this coming 2021, that makes 2021 a disaster because it takes the cruise lines at least 6 months to get their fleets back up and running again. And that's if everything runs smoothly. So we're going to have to watch that very closely. Number 4, the ships have not had passengers on board them by the time these ships start up, there could be ships out there that haven't had a paying passenger for up to a year and a half. It all depends how long this is going to take. The first ships to shut down, the ships that shut down in March last year, 2020, if they start up in May or June or July, it's 15 months since they've had paying passengers. And a number of these ships might be in need of some serious maintenance work, certainly inspections. They're going to need to be recertified by various port authorities because of the length of time they haven't had paying passengers on board. A number of these ships are going to need major work done to them to make them compliant with the new health protocols for social distancing. There may be millions required per ship just to install dividers in the restaurants, redesign the buffet areas. There's a lot of money that's going to have to be invested into these cruise lines to get them up and going. And cruise lines, every month that goes by that they're not sailing is another month of money out the door. And these folks could be in real financial jeopardy by the summer of 2021 if this goes longer. Number 5, cruise lines have millions of future cruise credits that they have to honor for their passengers. We're talking over 15 million passengers that likely will have future cruise credits by the time cruising really begins. It could even be closer to 17 million. And these folks have not only been promised a future cruise, but they've also been promised future onboard spending credits. And this bottom line means that a lot of people who are going to go on these cruises, these millions, they're not going to be spending a lot of fresh cash with the cruise lines. They just want to get a cruise that they've paid for 2 years ago, year and a half ago. And so the cruise lines, as every month goes by, are on the hook for hundreds of millions of dollars more in guaranteed cruises, meals, drink packages, shore excursion deals, and on it goes. And they are not going to bring in the cash that they would have normally been bringing in had everyone been a first-time buyer of a cruise. These folks are owed millions of cruises. Passengers may be, number 6, they may be unwilling to adhere to the major new health protocols that the ship lines are going to be forced to enforce on board their ships. The viruses might keep popping up on board while these new cruises begin, and this is a wild card. We don't know how this is going to play out. The problem what we're worried about here is if a cruise ship with 2,000 passengers on it arrives at a Caribbean island, and there are 1 or 2 people already on board the ship that have the virus and they're being quarantined, what will these nations do? Will they completely deny the ship any boarding privileges whatsoever? Will they force the ship to only pick up a few provisions and go on its way? Is the rest of the cruise basically canceled now and you have to go back to the home port? How are these countries going to react when this happens? There's just a lot of questions here. For cruise lines, this could be a disaster because they can't guarantee that your voyage will be uninterrupted by one single case of the virus. All right, let's move on to point number 7. What could make 2021 a disaster for cruise lines? Well, here's number 7. If in the first 3 months of the reactivation of cruises, customer satisfaction ratings are really poor. If that starts to come out where, passengers are complaining about the over-excessive restrictions on board the ships, or every second cruise another passenger catches the virus, or it's discovered that they have the virus, even with vaccines in place and testing. We have, ships being quarantined all of a sudden or being turned away from countries, or, cruise after cruise. Every second, third cruise has a short ending. This is going to be a problem. If ports are going to reject entire cruise ships at the last minute, where you've got shore excursions all booked, ready to go, and everything is canceled, this is going to be an incredibly frustrating experience for these passengers, and they're going to start complaining about it. And you're going to see YouTube videos and hear all about it, where passengers are going to go, "It's just not worth it. I can't count on the cruise lines to take a cruise because there are just too many variables." This could be a disaster going forward, because a lot of folks might just delay, going back on cruises, and this would be bad news for the cruise lines if passengers start to delay their thoughts about taking cruises again. And these cruise ships need to be filled up as soon as possible with paying passengers. Number 8, a limited number of ships to choose from because the entire fleets are not yet up and running. Only a few ships have been cleared with health certificates. In the case of Carnival, right here, this cruise line has another problem they're dealing with, and that is the federal judge in Miami that is overseeing the certification of these cruise ships from the environmental side of things. Carnival has to have a 30-day certification time frame to get every one of their ships running again for all of the 9 cruise lines that they run if they're going to use U.S. ports. And for passengers, there may be a favorite ship or so that they'd like to go back onto that they can't go onto, or a ship that used to have a certain itinerary and they're just not available. And this could be a major turnoff for a lot of people a few months into this program. And people might just go, you know what, I'm not going to book a cruise until everything is back to normal, and they might wait a year until 2022 or longer before they even bother thinking of going on a cruise. It's a wait-and-see attitude, and cruise lines can't afford that. They need full ships right away. Number 9, there could just be better holidays available elsewhere at a much better price. At the end of the day, folks, we're talking about an industry here that has lost out on over $20 to $25 billion of revenue in the last year alone. If these guys can't start sailing until next summer or fall with any kind of regularity, we're talking about an industry that has been down for over a year, maybe a year and a half, and that could even approach $30 billion. And these guys need money, and they need it now. There are bankers on Wall Street going, "Hey, we've lent you guys a ton of money to survive. We want to be paid back, and you better make sure that you pay those interest payments on time." But if holidayers have a better deal available to them, say an all-inclusive resort in the Dominican Republic or in Mexico or in other spots, with airfare all included, for husband and wife or family with kids, it might be the better way to go. Even more so, you may find that a lot of people are just not interested in traveling internationally, and they just want to stay closer to home, and they're just going to go to Disneyland, Disney World, Universal, some of the theme parks, or visit relatives in different various parts of the U.S., or do some B&B type holidays, and avoid cruising altogether because of the hassle, the restrictions, wearing a mask all the time. You just don't know, and we're going to have to follow this very closely. All right, the last one, number 10, cruising costs are just going to be too high because of all of the mandatory testing that's going to be required by various jurisdictions that you're going to be visiting. Fees that might kick in with regards to travel insurance, that might be mandatory. Medical insurance. Certain countries you visit will not allow cruise ships in unless all passengers have insurance, just in case they have to stay behind. And the new expenses that you haven't heard from yet, we haven't heard from yet, but it's coming, folks. Count on it. Homeland security, customs fees, security concerns, port charges around the world are going to rise dramatically because every single port that these cruise ships want to visit, every country they want to go to, are going to have increased health protocols, security protocols, and they're going to want to be covered in case 2,000 people on a cruise ship show up with 1,200 crew, and surprise, surprise, 50 cases of the virus are on board, and they have to be evacuated immediately into local quarantine centers or hospitals. And these countries want to make sure that they've got enough cash coming in from this industry to pay for these unexpected nightmare visits. I don't know if this is going to happen or not. I hope it doesn't. We're all hopeful that the vaccines coming out will be the answer, but we don't know if that is going to be the case. It's too early to tell. We haven't had vaccinations even begin. A lot of speculation of what kind of side effects might be had here, and so 10 reasons have just been dropped on you to kind of tell you, folks, it might well be that all the good intentions are there, but the execution is not going to be there. And for the cruise lines, it could be a disastrous 2021 where all the hope and dreams and aspirations are blown out the window within the first 5 months, and the cruise lines bleed money for another 6-8 months and barely make any money for the last few months. We'll stay on top of it. Thank you for joining me today. We'll keep you posted, everybody. Bye for now.